Yeah.
Yes, you're right. I believe you. Okay. So, I was just saying that, I literally see the word grow and think in everything that I do, which, you know, is on purpose because I'm a personal growth, personal development junkie. I love it. I'm always striving to figure out, where can I improve? What can be grown out of this experience? And, Amy, you just held up the Think and Grow Rich 10 Minutes a Day book, and I ordered it after some masterminds with Brenda, and it's been swirling around in the community. I went on a ordering bender and got some new personal development books because in my challenge, and I'm developing it as my personal habit to just continue, not even in the challenge, but the challenge has made that be something that I crave every day, which is even just 10 pages in a personal development book, because I listen to a lot of audios, but I really love being able to grab a book and highlight the pieces that jump out to me. Just words. They don't even make sense necessarily, but I highlight. So I'm curious, if anybody else like writes in books or highlights in them and just kind of takes, actually, Susie, you developed this in me by part of the way that we train together is like, I think tank things out. And then she asked like, okay, highlight words that just jump out to you and really like resonate with your heart. And that's what I do in the books that I read and how I personally grow, because there's reasons these things jump out at us. There's reasons that we put them top of mind. So I want us to think about that. So I'd love to talk about how you guys work on your personal growth. And we are at 10 after, so we're going to go do our intentions and we will see you back at 10 to the hour. And we're talking a lot about feeling alive, and I mean, growth goes hand in hand with that, because I can even say that I looked up the meaning of alive. To feel alive is to be alert and active and animated. And I love that. This is the conversation we've been talking about, because when we focus on our own personal growth, everything around us grows. Everything is impacted when it starts with us and who we are, and being able to own that by working on ourselves, everything is amplified. Everything will grow from there. Your family is impacted. Your work is impacted. The humans that you come in contact with will be impacted. It's not something that is direct and like in your face to, like a eyebrow being off kilter or being in alignment for the day, right? We have sisters and we have twins sometimes, but sometimes they're distant cousins. Like, it's not apparent when we have personal growth. It is progression. Some days, these are my favorite personal growth days, when all of a sudden it comes together and you're like, shit, I would have approached this so differently days ago, weeks ago, years ago. The old Becky would have been a shit show, a wreck for a long time. And I would have said some really hurtful things to someone in reaction. But because I've decided, because I've chose myself and my personal growth, first and foremost, everyone around me grows because I'm focused on myself. So this is me saying, if you're not focused on personal growth yet, this is a really great opportunity to encourage you that when you focus on you first, knowing who you are, being able to step into that stronger every day with the confidence that who you are is exactly who your world needs, then everyone benefits from that. So we were talking about, I was beginning to ask about like personal development and what that means for you and what you kind of do. As I was talking about, I've taken up physical books, and I've been really enjoying highlighting and making notes in them. And really that's for me to take stock and anchor in what I'm learning in them so that I can actually grow from it, instead of just having, feeling good about, oh, I did some reading today and I did some personal development. I listened to something really positive. But if we aren't taking action from what we're learning, then we're simply learning. It's temporary. And I've been really focusing on the difference between learning and transformation. The difference is that there's action that we're implementing, we're practicing what we are learning, which brings us to transformation, right? So I would love to hear anyone else's thoughts about everything that I've said this morning about personal growth and transformation now. So good morning.
If I had shoes on, I would be throwing them at you.
Yeah. And that's a positive thing, right?
Yes. I learned that from Jennifer Hudson on on The Voice. I guess like in the South, like when somebody is saying something so good, like it's really in church. Like when somebody is preaching and they're like on it, like people will throw their shoes at the stage, like, yeah, get it. Like so that's
hilarious, because I mean, I wouldn't think that getting a shoe thrown at me would be positive.
Yeah.
Maybe a flower, right? Like you think about being on a stage and people are like, yeah. But a shoe, I mean,
but who has flowers with them? You always got shoes with you, except for right now. So
I love it.
It made me think of like skaters and how they throw the stuffed animals and the flowers and
Oh yeah.
and they're done. But I love what you said, and I love that you the difference between learning and transformation. And Rhonda said something once that just made me like totally crack up, but she said that the aha is like the orgasm. Like, I mean, you know, it's like, or not the orgasm, foreplay. The aha is foreplay. And so, you know, if you don't keep at it, you ain't getting to the end result. So, so I thought, you know, that's kind of what, even though I kind of messed it up by saying it wrong, but that's kind of what I think of when I think of the aha, you know, like you have this like, oh, I should do this, or I should do that, or I could, you don't want to should yourself, but I could do this, or I could do that, you know, different possibilities or opportunities. You know, we get these ideas and stuff, and then we don't do anything with them. Or there's been plenty of times where I'm at a workshop and I get this idea, oh, I want to do this. And I even put a star by it and all that kind of stuff. And then I'll come back to my notes like 2 years later and I'm like, I never did that. You know? Yeah. And stuff like, I mean, there's sometimes I come back and I'm like, I did that, but you know what I mean? It's like, you know, if you're not doing something to make it happen or implement it, then, you know, like, it's just, you're going to forget it.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
Right. That's saying. And I love that, because think about like the energy space when we're at workshops, when we're in the learning, when we're listening to the podcast, you're in the energy of hell yeah. Oh yeah. We're doing the preach thing. Right. And then when you turn it off, reality. Now you get to make decision, right? So you may not have made the decision that you needed to actually take action on it, but then the choosing happens, right? We got to make the decision about what it is and then the choosing. So love that. We are at the top of the hour. We're going to pause here. Hit that. We have 5 magic minutes to mastermind around personal growth, how you were growing. I do always love to throw the question out because it is Monday and my hours are on Mondays on purpose, because I love starting the fresh week with some fresh thoughts. And I love thinking about the growth opportunities that we come across, right? The things that are meant for us, where we were growing through the weekend. Does anyone have anything that jumps out for an area of your life or business that you were presented with the opportunity to expand and grow this weekend that you would like to share for some inspiring thoughts? If not, I can ask a direct question. Anyone?
I mean, I'll just reiterate, I was sharing earlier that my mom and I decided to have a yard sale this past weekend. And we just had so much fun with it. And my little guy really got into it. And he was like flagging people over. He was like hustling. My mom told him, like, hey, I was going to donate my stuff anyway. So whatever you sell, you can keep the proceeds. And he was like a little money making machine. He ended up making like $100.
Dang!
I was just so inspired by him, right? Just this like, you know what? I can do it and I'm going to make it fun. And it was like at one point he like there was a lull, so he went to his room to like play video games, and like as soon as someone pulled up, he was like downstairs, cowboy hat back on, and he was like out there. So I just loved his like commitment and his ability to like make it fun. And he just like went for it. And then like my 12-year-old was like, well, it's not fair that Owen gets all the like money from this. I'm like, dude, this kid has been like on it for 2 days straight. Like he has earned every penny of that.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack about that, because I saw pictures and I saw some videos, and I love that you use the word commitment, because that, I mean, personally, that is actually my word of the year for 2021 is commit and commitment. And how cool is it when we get to see those qualities in a child that we're like, dang, like, where does it go, right? Like, when do we find that we're like, dang, that is inspiring. I love that you talk about that as inspiration to you, because he's having fun with it. He's, when there was downtime, he went and did something else that was fun for him. And then when the time was right, like he came back and he was fully energized to keep going with it, to keep showing up and use his personality and go out. And you said he went out to draw people in. I love that you pointed that out, because it wasn't just that he sat behind the table, right? I think this is something with like garage sales or yard sales that is different, is that if you sit behind the table and you're just waiting for people to show up and hand you the money and take your stuff, there's a difference between someone that's spinning a sign at the end of a driveway or doing the dance, getting the energy going to show like, we have something that you need. We have something for you here, and, open the door and welcome them instead of sitting back and waiting for them to show up. And then, there was so many things that I took away from you sharing that opportunity. And I love, Sue's helped me with the concept of my minis being my business buddies. So love that you and him had that time, and that you were also able to show your 12-year-old, like, to say, this is because he showed up for it. He was committed to it, which is really great lessons for all of the kids, and to re-energize you and what you have going on too. So I love that growth opportunity for your kids and your garage sale. Like, you made $100. That's so inspiring. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Well, we're at the top of the hour, so I'm going to pause here. Okay, so we have 6 magic minutes before we are at the top of the last grow hour. And so some conversations we've been having this morning have been about how important personal growth is, because everything starts with us. And when we're focused on growing ourselves, it amplifies our whole world. Everything else can be raised up because we are improving ourselves, and our whole atmosphere gets to grow from that. Another thing that we've talked about is opportunities of personal growth that we had from our weekend or in the last week, since maybe you came to the last grow hour. So I'm curious to open it up if anyone has any other stories that you want to share about your weekend and where you found personal growth, or even this morning, maybe in your practice this morning, you found that there was opportunity for you to grow more that you would like to share or speak life to. I would just like to open it up if anyone has anything to share.
I'll say something. So in my morning study this morning, one of the books that I read is Peaceful Living, which is all about needs. And so one of the questions was, what is your, I forget what word, deepest or most need that you have, and what are you doing to manifest it? And so I wrote down a bunch of needs because I'm not really sure what my biggest need is. So I wrote down a bunch of needs and then what actions I'm taking right now to meet those needs. So it was kind of an eye-opening experience because at first I thought, dude, I'm not doing anything to meet these needs. And then as I started to write down what I was currently doing, I was all, I am doing some things. So I can always be better, but I am doing some things to meet my own needs for my my big needs. So that was a good awareness.
I love that you say I can always be better, because to me that is growth. That is why we talk about, that is why my focus is about how we grow on purpose. It is being willing to see where growth opportunities are and being open to receiving the feedback, because feedback truly is a gift. It can be wrapped in ugly, scary things, and it is a gift when we see the awareness and the opportunity for what that is. And I want a side note that you've talked about that book so much. I did Amazon order that. It is on the way to my house, so I'm super excited for that too. Yes. Shelly, I see you came off mute. What would you like to share?
Well, I just had over the weekend just kind of a little epiphany around the idea. So I do a thing like I don't know how to say it in a short amount of time. There are so many like dichotomies of things, right? Like law, grace. There are just like things I'll look at and I can see both sides of them. And I'm always torn, like, do I believe this or do I believe this? You know, and I'm like messing around with that in my mind. And so I've been thinking about like this concept of, is it the whole Kaizen thing, like where you slowly change a habit because you do one thing and you just start moving in that other direction? Because I've experienced that. And at the same time, I've also experienced the opposite of that, where one thing changes everything. And so I like, and you can read books about habits or read books from both sides of that fence about how, so I've been really studying or thinking about what's the factor there? Is it who the person is? Is it how it's implemented? Is it the stage of, you know, and like, so I'm just really, I've been sitting in that a whole bunch. And I think a lot of times it's just that it's both, right? Like, it's that sometimes you have that personal energy to take on the world and tackle the whole thing. And you reach this line in the sand and say, everything about my life sucks and it changes now. Like I've seen that in people. And then there are other times like, you know, I've been thinking about when all my children were little and it was just so, I mean, 12 people in a house is just so much all the time. And so there were just times where all I could do was just do the next freaking thing. Like that was all I had, was this little piece of that. And so anyway, I just sat in that and I looked at my own so my own tendency is I want to do something 2 times and then think I've achieved the thing. Like I want to be a bodybuilder because I worked out Monday and Tuesday this week. And so now I'm that. And so that's around the writing thing. I've always known I was destined to be a writer since I was a little tiny girl. But the truth is, I don't want to put the time into the craft. And so that's where I had to really get real with myself, that I have to learn the craft.
I love that. And what came to mind, and I know we're at time here, we're at the top of the hour, but the other thing that came to my mind when you were talking that through was also like, why? Like the why behind wanting to learn the thing or take the action, I think has a lot to do with it too. Like where that drive is, what is the purpose for you personally, and why you want to put the time into the craft to learn the thing and grow in that area is why you hear so many people talking about like, go back to your why, go deeper in your why, because we need that knowing as humans of like, putting our energy and our effort into something, our heart usually has to be in whatever the thing is. So that was coming
The
to mind
growth
too.
is the hurty part though, right? I mean,
The
that's
hurty
the
part,
hurty
yeah.
part.
Pain, the growth is pain. I have that wrote down somewhere that I've looked at it. I've marked it, traced it many times. Growth is painful and it is necessary. So yeah, love that. Well, thank you for joining the Grow Hours today. Have a fabulous day. We will see you next week.